this is an exciting day for me for looking to make a difference with Gail. I'm at 580 East 187th Street, and I'm with the famous man, the Cannoli King, also known as Jerome Ragusa. Welcome.
My pleasure.
Oh, this is very exciting. You know, mentioned before that my dad grew up in the Bronx, so this is really special for me. And we just did a quick walk, a roundabout, and I cannot believe you're like the mayor with all the people you know.
Well, hopefully, and we're here 55 years. If I didn't make any friends by now, then something's wrong with me.
How could you not, with all these delicious pastries and cannolis? As we went down the block, we actually had people standing there telling me how they can't wait to come in daily for your cannolis.
Well, growing up in this neighborhood, when people ask me, where did you go to school? And I would say I went to Mount Carmel Grammar School, I went to Columbus High School, and then I went to the University of Belmont, which is the neighborhood.
Right.
There's nothing more than street smarts. And like I said, growing up around here, the nostalgic, the history, the friends that I made, that I'm talking about being friends with third generations down the road. Last night I actually had a little get-together with a third generation, and we just reminisced for an hour and a half outside in front of my store.
This is a reunion neighborhood. But I want to also say, Jerome, if you study your name, have you ever studied it?
My name, no, never did study it.
Well, let me give you a little information. It states that you are able to communicate with others.
Wow.
You are a leader, you are creative, and also you give from the heart. How much does that describe you?
That's me to the T, to be honest with you. That's one thing about, and not that I'm patting myself in the back, is that I learned from my dad to always be good to others. And you know what? In a case like mine, my reward is my friendship and the hellos that you get in the street, and people just stop me. How's your mom? Or how's Joanne? And I love that. I love that about this neighbor. You just witnessed it yourself. People walking down and stopping me and saying, we'll be there for cannolis in a little while. So I said, all right, we know what you want. You don't have to tell us, and that's it. So I love the heartfelt relationship I have with my fellow merchants and residents, of course.
And you grew up living above the store, correct? Ginos Pastry Shop.
I still do. I'm like the Dean Martin of bakers. This is like Moonstruck and the Dean Martin show combined into one. Now, people don't remember Dean Martin. He used to roll out of bed, slide down the pole, and he was at work. That's what I do. I'm the only one that's open during a snowstorm. The only traffic I hit is when my mom and my aunt are going up and down the stairs at the same time. That's the only bumper to bumper that we run into. But other than that, I love it because, again, I might have my business here, but my heart and soul is still in this neighborhood.
This is your passion. This is your life. And that's why you're so wonderful at what you're doing. I love the fact that we have our Italian music in the background. I'm looking at an incredible array of delicacies. Your cakes are amazing. And you said that recently you were asked to bake a cake for a man who turned how old?
105 years old. I've been doing his cakes since he turned 90, and I actually said, "Listen, Joe," I said, "No disrespect, but I'm running out of ideas." I've done your cakes for the last 15 years, and but you know what? The man, I love sitting with him, the stories, and I just look at myself and I look at him and I says, if I'm half the man he is, then I've done something right, because the same respect that people show me, they show him. And, I just love, his name is Joe Binder. And this is a tradition that we've done, and hopefully we'll do it for another 100 years.
That's why you're so successful. You don't just come in to get a cannoli. You come in for a chat. You come in for knowledge about the community. Now, how did you get the name, the Cannoli King?
Well, that was a funny story. I was picking up Joanne's son from
Joanne is a girlfriend.
Joanne's my girlfriend, correct. I was picking him up, and my phone goes off, and it was Chaz Palminteri. He says, listen, make sure you watch the Jay Leno show tonight. So again, Jay Leno's taped early. I put the TV on at 11 o'clock. At about midnight, Chaz comes out, and he talks about growing up in this neighborhood. And there's one thing I learned from Chaz Palminteri is don't ever forget where you came from. So as he's chatting, he tells a story about not having any money growing up, and wherever he went, he always paid for everything. He goes, now that I have a few dollars, nobody's charging me. So he goes, but there's one thing I always do. I have to go to that neighborhood where I lived and visit Jerome. Jerome, he gave me the name Cannoli King on Jay Leno. Well, at about 12:15, my phone is ringing off the hook. And this is, after right after midnight. And people, oh, he's talking about. I says, yes, I know, I have it on. It says, and that name stuck. So I went through 3 different names, and this is one that's pretty much sticking with me right now.
I like to look at the banner behind us, and I see a little word there, and I think you have to explain that as well, if you could.
Well, again, growing up in this neighborhood, there's a lot of people that came out of this neighborhood, and even though he was born out in Jersey, he lived in Jersey. Joe Pesci was discovered on a restaurant right here on the corner, and I was asked to be involved in a street festival, and we had to make up a banner. So I said, okay, I just need a sign that says Ginos Pastry. At that time, they were calling me the Pillsbury Doughboy. So he put the Pillsbury Doughboy. But at the same time, the movie The Godfather was out, and there was a character in The Godfather. His name was Enzo the Baker. So Joe, being the character that he is, says, okay, we're going to stick with the Pillsbury though, but we're going to start calling him Enzo. And wherever I used to walk down the block, they would do that whole character, hey, Enzo the Baker, I make a nice cake for you, And that name stuck for years until Chaz decided to, on national TV, to call me the Cannoli King.
Do you see the personality that he has? I'm going to be in a movie called The Familia. It's actually a drama series. And I've just invited you and Chaz to be in this. Wow. What do you think? Look at how he acts.
Listen, but are they going to call me the Cannoli King in that one?
They'll call you anything you want.
Just call me.
Just call you. So what do you think of something like that?
I would be honored to be part. And like I said, it's an honor just meeting you, because we've been friends for years on Facebook, and we've chatted, and I followed you. I really did. I followed all your work, all your interviews, and when you asked me we got to do this, I said, but what is she going to want to do with a baker from Arthur Avenue? And you're pointing out all these great things about me, and again, you really touched my heart, and it's an honor to meet you.
I love that, and I love you.
Thank you.
But I want to go back also to the area, because I think sometimes it doesn't always get the reputation it deserves.
That's right.
Edgar Allan Poe grew up not that far from here.
Concourse.
We have so many things. But what I want to point out, and this is why you have touched my heart, this man received the Humanitarian Award, and he did this because he helped save important areas in the community. But let's hear it from him.
Yeah, it was the Bronx Zoo. This again, I don't know if things just fall on my lap or if it's my personality. I became very good friends with Rosemary DeLuca and the executive vice president of the Bronx Zoo, Mr. John Cavelli. And we were just chatting, and John Cavelli just nonchalant says, they're looking to cut $4.7 million from the zoo as part of the budget cuts. And I said, oh my God, I'm just had this image of the Bronx Zoo being shut down. And I said, I just innocently turned around and said to him, imagine Arthur Avenue without the zoo is like a cannoli without the cream. Well, he took that and he ran with it. He was a guest on that Sunday with Diana Williams on Channel 7. Yes, and she was also had her own talk show in the morning. And he sits down, and as I'm watching this, I hear him say, yes, a friend of mine just pointed something out. He says, where we grew up, the zoo being in the Bronx, he says, imagine Arthur Avenue without the zoo is like a cannoli without the cream. And that came from the owner of Ginos Pastry that we know as the Cannoli King. Well, of course, Channel 7 got wind of this, and I became friends with all of them also now because of that. So we decided to sit down and come up with this scheme, and me, Rosemary, and John came up with this idea that the budget cuts were going to take place on, I forgot what day it was, but there were, I asked them, how many council members are there? So well, there's 12 council members. So we came up with this idea to literally send each council member their own personal cannoli. But behind the whole idea with that was each cannoli had a handwritten note. So of course they're sitting down and you see, oh, cannoli from Ginos.
And they're getting excited. Coffee, cannoli.
Let's get some coffee here. Let's get. So they got the coffee together, and then all of a sudden they turned around and they says, we opened up the box and there's a cannoli. The cannoli was empty, and inside the cannoli was a handwritten note, hand signed, each one of them by me, and it says, due to budget cuts, this is what 53% of a cannoli will look like, an empty cannoli shell. Well, I have to say, I get a call the next day that they only cut 800,000, and out of that, they gave back another 300. So we only got cut about 500,000, considering they were looking to cut $4.7 million. And the funny thing with that is that they tried it the following year with pizza with no mozzarella, but it didn't work because they literally sell slices of pizza with no mozzarella anyway. You know.
But you see what you can do when you're determined to make a difference in your community. It started small, came with an idea, and then it just spread. So you saved the Bronx Zoo. So the next time I go, I can say...
Yeah, we have an article there on the... You know, my mom, being old school Italian, I came to work the next day and the media's outside, and right away she thought of the worst. With her, growing up in the Bronx, you think the worst, you know, and she's, oh my God, what did my son do? What happened? Meanwhile, it was a good thing. It was a real good thing. And at the same time, I was in the papers, and the funniest phone call I got during this whole incident was Chaz is on Yahoo, and the headlines on Yahoo reads, "A Bronx Tale, Baker Saves Zoo." So he calls me up and he says, you know, again, you stole my thunder. I said, Chaz, I don't know what you're talking about. And he says to me, well, I got to tell you something. I says, the whole story about the Bronx Zoo incident is on Yahoo. I said, this is the interview I wanted. I wanted you to do this on behalf of the neighborhood. And he said one thing. He goes, listen, what you've done was from the heart. I could have easily spoke to the council members. It wouldn't have worked. He said it would have never worked. With you, it's from your heart. It's from the business end of it. And he was right. And I tell you, it was one of my most exciting experiences that they gave me an award in the Bronx Zoo. I was named Merchant of the Year from the Bronx Chamber of Commerce last year.
And you help small businesses all over.
A lot of the small business. I'm heavily involved also with the Senior Center.
What do you do there?
Well, every month they order something, and I give them as low as at cost, pretty much, just at least for the material.
Right.
But every Easter time we donated stuff and everything, and I love going there because a lot of those people, remember, we're all going to get old one day, and I'm hoping that someone does for me what I do for others.
You see, that's what's so beautiful about you, and that's why people come in here. Beautiful pastries, but also a beautiful person with a beautiful heart.
Thank you for those kind words. And I said, this neighborhood is my love, is my life.
And by the way, I did check on prices. The neighborhood, the prices are going up.
Yeah.
What we lack perhaps a little bit in that we used to all go outside to eat. You'd have your dinner out there, and some people do, some people don't. But there's less crime. The housing prices are increasing. We had the Yankees.
Yeah, of course. I'm a diehard Yankee fan. You know, you don't mess with the Yankees now. You know?
The aquarium.
Yeah, I'm definitely that's right. The aquarium. Well, that's in Brooklyn. But you know, this neighborhood. Whenever the Yankees are at home, you can see limos lined up. We stay open later. During an afternoon game or something when the game ends. We usually close at 7, but sometimes we stay open till 8, 9 o'clock, because once the game ends, everyone from the Yankee game come right to name and they grab a quick bite to eat. It's not exactly cheap to be to go to this state. It's very expensive. I'm not going to lie. I am a diehard Yankee fan, but with the economy the way it is, you know what? I had people came in the other day. They bought a dozen cannolis and took them to the Yankee game, and it was during the Yankee Mets series. I want you to know the Subway series. You know, so any Met fans out there, I apologize, but we won 2 out of 3. So, but I mean, I have my wall. I have some.
Oh, the wall is incredible. Who are some of the famous people you have on the wall? And I'm going to get you a picture for sure.
We
See, that's
definitely
why-
put going here. This is my favorite here. They're always here. Mr. Dominic Chinese, who played Uncle Junior in The Sopranos.
Right.
We became so close that we try to at least get together once a month for dinner.
Really?
He anytime I'm doing anything for the seniors or my grammar school, I'll actually call him to come and perform. We went to surprise him in Manhattan one day. Then you got Federico Castellucci, who I call my brother. He's became part of my family during a recent tragedy in my family. This man was there. I mean, all the time.
He's your brother.
Yeah, my younger brother passed away, and he was there, and he always reached out to us. The same thing with Dominic. Dominic was on his way to Washington. He canceled his flight to come and pay his respects. And Federico and also Chaz, who I grew up with. If you look at that photo, this photo was before he even did a Bronx Tale. I mean, you could tell by the full head of hair he's got. And the cannolis.
We won't
were
say
only
anything
$1.
about that.
No, but the cannolis were only $1 back then, $1.25 or something.
You have about 60, 70 pictures on the wall,
Yeah, and we're
each
not
one a
finished yet.
story.
Yep. But we have an empty spot for you, you know. We have it horizontal, vertical, depends on what picture you give me, you know. We have it saved for you. Actually, there's one there with that I ran into Conan O'Brien on Arthur Avenue, and it was so weird. When I went over to him, I had just walked Chaz to his car, and I walked over to him and I said, "Listen, I have to introduce myself to you. I have a pastry shop here. You know, I'm friends with Chaz Parmentieri." He goes, "Wait a minute, are you the Cannoli King?"
Oh,
And I literally, this was at a restaurant called Dominic's. I literally fell off, and everybody looked around. I said, "Well, how would you know that?" He goes, "I heard all about you from Chaz," and I was flattered that me being a baker, that have people, celebrities, literally talking about me. The same thing with Joe Pantoliano. He forgot my name, and he introduced me to someone as the Cannoli King. I was, oh God! I said,
it's the name that's going to
yeah,
stick.
well, because Jerome, he forgot the name Jerome. So he goes, "Oh, I want you to meet a friend of mine. He's the Cannoli King." I said, and the guy goes, "Hi, Cannoli." You know, I said, "All right."
Well, the next time that you see Jerome with me, it's going to be in the Familia.
That I can't wait. I'd be honored to be part of that.
I want to thank you so much because it's my honor to not only be here, to finally meet you, but you have one of the biggest hearts ever.
Thank
You have a lovely girlfriend, Joanne, who's hiding back there. But I'll tell you, this is truly an honor because it's not just that you put so much pride, passion, and love into what you do, which is significant. That's old school.
This
But you also are from the heart.
Yeah.
And that's what Looking to Make a Difference is all about.
And like
Thank
I said,
you.
don't ever forget, to everyone out there, don't ever forget where you came from. Because believe me, those are words that I live by. My pleasure.